It was a crisp autumn morning when the crash echoed through the valley like thunder. I rushed outside, heart pounding, only to find a demolition crew from the local homeowners association tearing into my grandfather's old shed with a backhoe. Shards of wood flew everywhere, and there stood Victoria Hale, the self-appointed HOA president, arms crossed, and smirking like she'd just won some twisted game. Grandpa Harlan, a weathered farmer who'd tilled this land for decades, stared in disbelief, his fists clenched. "What in God's name are you doing?" he bellowed. Victoria, with her perfectly coiffed hair and clipboard in hand, was the epitome of arrogancy, a woman obsessed with visual harmony, who fined neighbors for overgrown lawns or unpainted mailboxes. Unbeknownst to most, she'd quietly redrawn the HOA boundaries, slipping Grandpa's property into their jurisdiction without a whisper of consent. The shed, hand-built by Grandpa 40 years ago to store his tools and memories, was gone in minutes. No real notice, no legal backing, just her say-so. Grandpa's eyes narrowed as the dust settled. "This means war," he growled, his voice low and dangerous. The neighbors gathered like moths to a flame, whispering and filming on their phones. Grandpa confronted Victoria right there, demanding answers. She waved a paper triumphantly. HOA Resolution 14C. Notice was mailed weeks ago, but Grandpa knew better. No such letter had come. As she sauntered away, he muttered under his breath, "Ever been chased by a tractor, lady?" That night, under the barn's flickering lights, Grandpa dusted off his ancient John Deere, the engine roaring back to life after years of slumber. He worked methodically, oiling parts and sharpening blades, his face set in grim determination. This wasn't just machinery, it was his weapon of choice. Things escalated fast. Victoria returned the next day with a boundary enforcement map, demanding Grandpa dismantle his chicken coop, the creaky windmill that powered his well, and even the stacked firewood by weeks in-face eviction threats. He ignored her, hammering away at the tractor instead. Whispers spread through the town. Victoria had forged maps, rigged votes in secret meetings, expanding her little empire 1 acre at a time. Grandpa pored over old deeds and surveys late into the night, uncovering the fraud. "She's a thief in pearls," he told me, his voice laced with fury. More notices piled up, fines for unsightly tools, the tractor itself, the windmills, noise pollution, and demands to repaint the barn in approved colors. Grandpa tossed them into the fire. He reinforced the tractor's frame with steel bars, turning it into a hulking beast of resistance. The community buzzed. Videos of the shed's destruction went viral online, splitting opinions. Some called Grandpa a hero, others labeled him a reckless old fool. Victoria upped the ante, buzzing a drone over his land for inspections, then slapped him with a $7,000 fine for property defacement. County officials showed up next, but after reviewing permits, they sided with Grandpa. Everything was grandfathered in, legally untouchable. The real spark came when Victoria's crew started erecting a towering white vinyl fence right on what she claimed was HOA land, cutting straight through Grandpa's field. The sheriff arrived just in time, red-faced and tape measure in hand, confirming the true boundary. "This stops now," he warned, halting the build. But Victoria's ego wouldn't bend. She saw it as a personal affront, a challenge to her authority that ignited debates across town halls and social media. Was she protecting community standards, or was this outright bullying? Friday dawned tense. Victoria rolled up with an inspector and her cronies, ready to enforce the demolitions. Grandpa met them at the gate, a court injunction in hand fresh from the judge, freezing all HOA actions. Her face twisted in rage, but before she could retort, Grandpa fired up the tractor. With a thunderous rumble, he plowed straight into the half-built fence on her claimed side, splintering panels like matchsticks. Neighbors cheered from the sidelines, some filming, others shouting encouragement. "Now we're square," Grandpa yelled over the engine's roar as Victoria stormed off, humiliated. Online, the footage exploded. Supporters hailed it as justice. Critics decried it as vandalism, sparking heated arguments about property rights versus community rules. Undeterred, Victoria sent workers back that evening to finish the fence, trespassing boldly. Grandpa watched from afar, then revved the John Deere up a makeshift ramp, driving it over the barrier, and crushing the new sections under its treads. The crash was deafening, sparks flying as metal met wood. She shrieked threats, but the sheriff pulled up moments later, sirens blaring. "You're on his land, ma'am. One more step, and it's trespassing charges for you." Victoria's power crumbled right there, her face pale as the crowd murmured in shock. Was Grandpa's retaliation heroic defiance or dangerous vigilantism? The town was divided, forums ablaze with debates. In the quiet aftermath, Victoria went silent. Her drone vanished from the skies. Investigations kicked off. County auditors dissected the HOA's records, uncovering faked votes and altered maps. Residents flooded in complaints, exposing years of her manipulations. Under pressure, Victoria resigned in disgrace, her house hitting the market overnight. She slunk out of town without a word, leaving behind a trail of controversy. Had her strict rules preserved neighborhood value or stifled freedom? The new HOA head, Marcus Reed, stepped in humbly. He apologized profusely, nullified the expansions, voided the fines, and even cut a check for the shed's rebuild. Grandpa and I got to work, hammering a sturdier shed and coop with help from neighbors who'd once feared speaking up. The community shifted to HOAs, loosened their grip, folks planting vegetable gardens and quirky yard art without fear. Grandpa sat on the porch one evening, sipping coffee, reflecting. Real strength ain't loud, kid. It's respecting the land and each other, not building empires on paper lies. Peace settled over the farm. New families moved in, blending kindly with the old ways. The windmill spun lazily, the chickens clucked contentedly, and the tractor rested in the barn, a symbol of enduring roots triumphing over fleeting arrogance. But the story lingered, a spark for endless debates. Where does one person's right end and another's tyranny begin?